On the forehand, we need to generate lag. Now there's two forms of lag. Lagging back is power, lagging down is topspin. So if we combine those two, lagging down and lagging back, we get a lagging back and down. What we don't want to do is take our wrist back into extension. We want to drop the wrist down into a neutral position. And as we go forwards, we bring the handle forwards instead of taking the racket back. We can generate a whip effect as the racket head acts with inertia in the opposite direction, and then it comes back much faster than the hand. Critically, when we drop the racket, it's all about timing, that we turn the shoulders forwards as we reach the bottom of the stroke. There's the lag. So we need to combine both of those lags together. You're going to generate a lot more racket head speed, and that speed you can put into, instead of power, you can apply into spin, which is going to give you more consistency, height over the net, more margin inside the court. The other big benefit is that we can now have a much shorter backswing. Backswing was back here, and now it's just neutral, and we're getting into that extended wrist position further in front as opposed to behind us. Now this compact backswing enables us to hit balls that are scooting through faster, because you can imagine having your racket back here. There's a long stroke to then come through and hit it and time it, so timing's a lot easier. The thing with racket head lag is it is counterintuitive. When you feel like you need to get that ball in, you stiffen the wrist up and then you push it through. Whereas the lag requires that you relax the wrist and you just let it go, and you've got to have that feeling like you don't mind where it goes. You've got to use the spin to control the ball as opposed to trying to use the arm to control the ball. If we take that racket higher, we have more potential energy as the racket drops, and we can get more downwards lag. So we've got a unit turn. We turn the shoulders, and it's the shoulder rotation back the other way which generates the lag in the racket. So if you don't turn the shoulders enough and you're still semi-open with the shoulders, then it's quite hard to generate lag because you haven't got as much forward momentum in that rotation. So try and get a little bit more shoulder rotation, and even consider getting into a more of a neutral stance position. Mirror the height of the ball with your backswing. So you take that racket up as the ball goes up over the net, you take it down as it comes to bounce, and then as it comes up, you're coming up to meet the ball. But that's not always the case. It's only the case when you're taking the ball on the rise. If you're taking the ball on the apex or even on the way down, then that drop is going to be a little bit later. You need to time the drop so you can get the lag at the bottom to come up over it. So you might even be dropping the racket on the apex to make sure that you get that lag to come up over the ball. If you get the timing wrong, you've dropped the racket, you lose the downwards lag, and now you're only getting forwards lag, and that's where you lose all the spin and it sails long. So timing it so you're there, the racket's pointing back and it's pointing down as you're rotating forwards. Now return of serve, I'm going to go straight to contact. Now here's my contact out here. Now as I jump forwards, because it's more like a volley in terms of footwork, I'm going to jump forwards and stamp the foot. You see the racket lags? Now I've gone forwards with my body and my shoulders to lag the racket, and now it's going to come through the serve. We will take it into the trophy position. The racket lags as we rotate, and then we come up. So a lot of the shots generate lag, and I think what we'll work on next is generating lag on the double-handed backhand, which works very similarly. Okay, so we turn, and then we're dropping the racket to generate that downwards lag. And as we get to the bottom of the stroke, we're going to go forwards, and then there's the lag in the wrists. We get an extension in the wrists, and we can come through with that faster racket head speed. As opposed to coming straight back, I see this a lot. People coming into this position, this extended wrist position in the backswing, and then coming through with just leverage on the racket. So you can see as I turn like this, that racket moves relative to the wrists, and this is that feeling we want to generate on that backhand backswing, that those wrists are inanimate on the backswing, we drop it down, we generate that downwards lag and that backwards lag to generate topspin and power. So it might be a little bit easier on your wrist, this one, because this is predominantly the left hand which is used on the double-handed backhand as opposed to the right hand. The right hand is more of a guide, and you're getting a lot of wrist going back, wrist extension on that left hand on the backhand. Okay, so let's give that a go and see if we can generate more power and more spin. Because you take a shortcut from here straight down, your lag is then only going backwards as opposed to down as well. So that's why we need to, with our shape on our backswing is keep the racket up. And then as we drop, we can generate lag down as well as back. And I want to see that racket pointing downwards as well as back when you start to rotate forwards. Okay, so for example, and then through. So the backwards lag looks like that. Downwards lag will look like that. As soon as your hand goes forwards, which means I've thrown this arm, that's gone to full extension, I've rotated my shoulders. At this point, my hips and my hand are going to come through together, and this is where the lag happens, the extension of the wrist. It's quite late into the shot. So in slow-mo, here we go. I'm going to take my racket up, I drop my racket, I start throwing my arm to turn my shoulders, my hip and my racket hand come through and lag the racket. Now the racket catches up, I've stopped rotating my shoulders by pulling the left arm in, and that racket catches up. I've got everything stable through contact and it continues through, and then I can catch the racket in the follow through to bring it back to the ready position. Yeah, so the racket lag before was going straight back, and the problem here is you were using your arm quite a lot to try and come through and muscle through the shot, which you can do quite well because you're strong, but you're not using the racket and your kinetic chain properly to generate as much power and spin as you potentially could. So you're working too hard for it, really. And this is why kids do so well, because the rackets are so heavy that they can't do this and then muscle through the ball. They have to generate this lag because their wrists are too weak. So they end up going like this, and the racket goes back in lag, and then they follows through, and then they develop this lovely technique just because they've started young when they were a little bit weaker with rackets that are probably too heavy for them. And to this day, I always think it's better to have a slightly heavier racket, no matter who you are, than maybe you should have, because it's going to develop a nice technique with that nice racket lag. If you have a racket that's too light, you're going to be able to swing it, use your wrist to hit the ball. The swing will be too fast with the arm. Hopefully that clarifies when you should be lagging. It's fascinating stuff. Shall we hit some serves?